You love your kids. You don't want to snap at them. You don't want to feel anxious all day. You don't want to end the night wondering why you couldn't stay calm. But your body feels like it's always bracing for the next thing. Let's talk about why. Welcome to Chronic Illness Moms. If you're more than just a tired mom, I'm talking trying to make it through the day without crashing by noon while raising neurodivergent kids, you're not alone. I'm Ashley, a wife, mom, and certified health coach. I have lived with autoimmune disease and flare-ups that made everyday life feel harder than it should. After years of pushing through and burning out, I learned how much stress, poor sleep, and nervous system overload were driving my symptoms. Everything changed when I started building small, realistic habits that actually supported my body instead of fighting it. In this podcast, you'll learn simple habits that help you to feel better. So pop in your earbuds and take a break from the chaos. It's you time. If you have been thinking, why am I so tired all of the time? Why do I feel anxious even when nothing big is happening? Why do I react faster to situations than I want to? And why does my body feel wired and exhausted at the same time? Today, we're going to be connecting some dots, and we're going to keep this really practical to figure out some things you can do to help to improve this. One of the most common things that I hear people say is, I don't understand why I feel so anxious all the time, or nothing big is happening. So why do I feel anxious? Why do I feel in my body so tense? People will say things like, I want to be more patient. I want to be able to stay calm. I don't want to feel overstimulated. I hate snapping and then feeling guilty. I am so tired of being on edge all the time. And a lot of times what we can uncover, especially in my one-on-one coaching, is that it's not really a mindset problem. It is not that you're not praying enough. It's not that you don't love your kids. It's not that you need more willpower. It's that your nervous system has been living in survival mode. Especially in a neurodivergent household, you're constantly listening, watching, anticipating, managing the house, making sure everyone is okay. Then when we add in chronic illness, chronic symptoms, inflammation, fatigue, pain, flare-ups, your system is just under so much of a load, and your body adapts. It learns to brace. Now, you might be thinking, what does that mean, or what does that look like? And one of the quiet ways that your body can brace for that next thing that's going to happen, the next problem, the next fight, whatever, is that you shorten your breath. You begin to breathe quickly. You aren't taking those deep restorative breaths. So we are breathing more shallow, and shallow breathing is going to keep your nervous system in that fight or flight or freeze state. You're not in full panic. It's not like you're having a panic attack. It's just something that is keeping you from being able to fully relax, that is keeping your nervous system activated. So, I have experienced this before, and I will say different times it's appeared differently, and it still is something that I really have to stay in tune with my body to be aware whenever I am falling back into this habit of really getting stuck in that fight or flight state. But then also, is my breathing, am I slowing down my breathing? Am I making sure I'm taking deep breaths? And sometimes what happens is it kind of sneaks up on me. I don't notice it right away. I know that I feel tense. Like I couldn't really take a deep breath. Sometimes you feel like something's sitting on your chest. Like my shoulders were up towards my ears. I would wake up tired. I would go through the day being very, very easily overstimulated. And then at the end of the night, I would feel exhausted, but I couldn't fall asleep. And then I remember during a really hard parenting moment, I caught myself doing something surprising. I was holding my breath while I was also trying to help my child regulate. And even whenever I did breathe, it was very, very quick. It was shallow, quick, high in my chest, almost guarded. And that's what bracing can look like. And here's the shift that I used to change how I approached it. I realized my body was not overreacting. I wasn't doing anything wrong. It was just protecting itself. When your nervous system has been carrying too much for too long without a break, it's going to choose readiness. It's going to choose protection over relaxation. And that makes perfect sense. But that protection, that readiness, whenever it's repeated all day, every single day, it becomes chronic stress. And I'm sure so many of you can relate to that feeling of saying, yeah, I feel like I live in a chronic state of stress. So let's break this down practically. What is shallow breathing actually doing to your body? When you are breathing in like a very short, rapid, really just breathing into the upper part of your chest, your brain is going to interpret that as you're under a threat. It activates your sympathetic nervous system, that fight, flight, or freeze response. Now, this doesn't have to be some dramatic thing, but it's still being activated. And when that runs all day, it's going to raise your cortisol. It's going to make your muscles tense up. It's going to cause you to be able to not relax as well at night and really get into that deep restorative sleep. It's going to keep inflammation up, increase your brain fog, make you feel that wired but tired feeling. And then also that really short fuse where you feel like you wish you had more patience, but you can't figure out, no matter how good your intentions are, how much you plan ahead, that I'm going to respond differently in the moment, you notice you never do. And that is why you feel anxious and exhausted all the time. Your body never fully gets the signal that it is safe and that it is okay for you to rest. So let's talk about a couple of different resets we can do to come out of that state. So just notice, first and foremost, that's the first thing we want to do, is learn to notice. When are you bracing yourself? When is your body naturally bracing for the next bad thing? So I want you to practice this now. Practice it through the rest of the day and even into tomorrow. And look at things like, is your breathing mostly in your chest? Like typically when we're thinking of deep breaths, we call it diaphragmatic breathing, and we should be seeing our abdomen raise and then lower because we're getting that breath all the way down to our diaphragm. So another thing you can look at is, are your shoulders lifted up, tense, tight towards your ears? Is your jaw tight? And then one thing that I noticed for me is, do you hold your breath during conflict? And just think of it this way. This is a great way to build awareness, and becoming aware of what's going on in our bodies is really the first step to making changes. If we don't realize that we're doing these things, if we know we feel off, but we can't place what the cause is, then there really is no ability or no possibility for us to change and to move forward. So that awareness really is the foundational step, really, for anything that we are considering doing to improve our health. Okay, so the second thing I want you to do is then to practice having a longer exhale. This can be a super fast, super simple way to reset your nervous system that you can use in real life, any situation, no matter what. Doesn't take any extra amount of time, nothing like that. You would just inhale like you normally do, but then instead of just letting it out and starting to inhale again, you exhale slowly. You hold out that exhale. So count to 4, count to 6, hold that out. So inhale normally, and then exhale for a count of 4 or a count of 6. And just try doing that 3 times in a row. That longer exhale is going to activate that parasympathetic nervous system, which is going to help to calm your body. It's going to give you more of that calming, lowering cortisol, bringing you out of that sympathetic nervous system state where you're really in that fight, flight, or freeze. That long exhale is going to tell your body, we are safe right now. If I have time to take this exhale and breathe, then we must not be in danger at this moment. It also is going to, I talk about in my coaching, in my one-on-one coaching, we talk about those Power 9 healthy habits. And one of those is air. And this is directly going to support that habit of getting good, clean oxygen, of having good breathing habits as well. Whenever we know we're getting good oxygen, when we're breathing appropriately, stress is going to lower. When stress lowers, we're able to relax. We're able to rest. When we rest better, we're less tired all the time. We're able to be more connected with our family. We are able to enjoy life. We are able to respond to a situation instead of react and fly off the handle and react in a way that we don't feel happy about later, which makes us feel guilty, which then just stresses us out, and the cycle continues. It is all connected. Okay, the third thing I want you to do is so first, I just want you to become aware. Then I want you to practice a long exhale. And the third thing is going to be to use this during hard moments. So it's not just, okay, I realize everything's quiet, and I realize that I can practice this long exhale. This is where we're now implementing it in the time where we really truly need it most, in the difficult times. So practice before you respond to your child, while you're in the middle of a meltdown, before walking into a tense conversation, before answering a stressful email, one long exhale. And then if you have time, and this is what happens to me. If I notice a stressful situation, I will do that deep breath, long exhale, and it feels so good that I'm like, okay, I need to do that a couple more times because I immediately feel it in my body. I feel my body relax. And it's so funny because I do it so routinely now that one of my kids will actually, they can tell that I am getting stressed, they will say, Mom, take a deep breath. And, it makes me so happy because I am also trying to teach the things that I'm talking about here. I'm also trying to teach my kids because I want my kids to know how to manage stress, to know how to take care of their bodies. And so it's so funny to me to hear my child say, Mom, I think you need to take a deep breath. And I'm like, you are right. I do. Let me take a second to take a couple deep breaths. And it does make such a difference. So Not only doing it in the easy moments, but having the wherewithal in those stressful moments to take a step back for 1 second and say, okay, before I respond, before I react, let me take a couple of long exhales and reset myself before I really tackle this difficult situation. The thing that we have to remember too is you don't become a calmer mom, a more connected wife by forcing yourself to be calm. You become calmer by giving your body that signal that we are safe. Everything is okay. It's okay to rest and to relax. Okay, the fourth thing I want you to do is to have a 2-minute floor reset. So this is the times it's like, okay, I'm in a really hard situation and I've tried the long exhale and it's just not working for me. Or I know everything's been building up, like it's a day where things have been piling on top of each other, one thing after another. It just feels like too much. What you can do is set aside 2 minutes, lay on the floor, put your knees flat, or your feet flat on the floor, knees bent, and then put your hands on your ribs, kind of there like ribs, or you could even do like your abdomen, where again, we're looking for that diaphragm. And then we're breathing into the side, into your lower belly is what I like to do. And so when we inhale, we're breathing all the way in. We're noticing, am I seeing my abdomen raise? Are my hands going up? Because I'm getting that breath down into my diaphragm. And then exhale, hold the long exhale. Now in these moments, I'm counting 6 to 8 whenever I'm doing that exhale. So practice that. Breathe in all the way down to the diaphragm and then hold that exhale out for a count of 6 to 8 and do that for 2 minutes. Just again, as we're doing this, we're not playing out the stressful situation or trying to plan what we're doing for dinner. We are really setting aside a minute, or not 2 minutes really, but we're setting aside time for ourselves to get us out of that stress response. This is going to lower your cortisol. You are going to feel your muscles relax. For me, it's like, I've told you guys before, I carry my tension typically in my shoulders and in my jaw. So whenever I do this, I can feel my jaw just release and my shoulders just drop. And it's like, it really does feel like a breath of fresh air. That's how I describe it for myself personally. But it's helping you to shift out of that survival state. Okay, so and the thing I love about this is it's such a small thing. It's taking time for yourself. It's realizing and prioritizing yourself so that you can be the best you, and also so you can work towards that goal of connecting and responding in the way that you want, but it's in a way that is really manageable. It's feasible for you to take 2 minutes out of your day to take care of yourself. Okay, so I know some of you you're wondering, why am I so tired all the time? And here is one piece of that, especially if you are struggling with this shallow breathing. That low level fight or flight is going to be burning energy. It's going to be interrupting your sleep. It's going to be causing that inflammation. Again, your muscles are tight. Your cortisol level is up. So your adrenals are probably being taxed. And that kind of gives that wired but tired feeling. And that is whenever we know, okay, there's a good indicator here that my nervous system is probably on high alert. So just keep in mind when this happens, we have these little tools and resources that we can do to help to improve that, to help us to come out of that state. And it really does just take the habit and the consistency. The more you do it, the more consistent you are, the more it will become your automatic response. The other thing is the reason why I like to focus on small habits, small wins is because they build over time, but also they give us momentum. They give us that drive and that motivation because we begin to see results. And the more consistently you do this, the more you realize, hey, this does actually help me, which means when these difficult situations come up, that is going to be something that comes to your mind as a potential solution to what you're facing. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about how sometimes it can also be a little bit of an emotional piece. So sometimes that shallow breathing comes from bracing ourselves emotionally. So it could be that we're holding back frustration or fear or tears or anger or all of these different feelings that we might face honestly throughout a single day. And whenever we can lengthen our exhale, it gives us time to slow down. It helps our body to come out of that state of fight or flight. And then a lot of times it can help those emotions to really come up so we can then begin to sort through them and process them and then move on from them. It is really just it's reminding our body that we're not in danger. Like a bear is not chasing us. So now it's okay for us to work through these feelings that we're having and then release them. And the great thing is in the middle of that can feel kind of gross. You know, who really wants to think about all the frustrations or the fear or all of that? But on the other side of that, when we can work through that, process it, and that may mean processing it with someone else, but process it and then release it. That is where we become more regulated. That is where we become more resilient. That's where we can then begin to move towards healthier patterns. Again, facing the issue head on and then processing it and moving forward. And that really is the goal. Okay, so that is what I have for this episode. I do want to say, here is your simple plan for this week. I want you to notice, first notice, when am I bracing? Am I bracing? What does it look like? What's going on here? Am I bracing? Then I want you to practice that long exhale. Count of 4, count of 6, whatever, before that difficult situation. And then if it's like, okay, things are crazy, or maybe you're just thinking, hey, this is all going great and I want to try this exercise, then you do that 2-minute floor reset to see, okay, I'm really overstimulated, or I want to continue carrying on this positive momentum that I am already seeing. So that is all you need to focus on. Small, repeatable, sustainable things. That's what we are focusing on here. And if you're thinking, I know my body is stuck, but I just don't know how to unwind, I don't know how to really implement this into my everyday life, that is exactly what I do inside my 1-hour one-on-one coaching session. You can find more details below in the show notes, or you can go to ashleybraden.com/coaching. We will look at what's stressing you, what's your pattern, your go-to pattern of how you respond, how you react. What little step can we do to integrate to help you to interrupt that and to do something different? All right, friends. And if nothing else, I want you to just start with one extra long exhale this week. Now, I will not have a second episode this week, so I will see you guys back next week. Hey friend, I hope you found today's episode helpful. If you did, would you take a minute to share it with another mom who's struggling with chronic symptoms? And leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It means the world to me to know this podcast is making a difference for you. All right, it's time for me to go tackle those snack requests, and remember that a short walk, even if the kids turn it into a race, still counts as self-care. Keep chasing those little wins. Even when it feels messy, you're making progress. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health routine. I'm not a doctor, and this podcast is not intended to treat or diagnose any condition. You're the expert on your body. Listen to it and reach out to a trusted provider for support.